Okay, the recording has begun.
Why don't you start by introducing yourself and giving a brief overview of what you do. This is for people who are watching this later. Celia came to us once before and she presented and is gracious enough to come back so we get to ask more questions because we just didn't have enough time and people wanted to have a chance to talk. So first, why don't you just introduce yourself and just give a little brief thing about what you're doing in Mexico.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Well, my name is Cecilia. I'm Mexican. I was born in Mexico City, and I started to work with the project with the NGO Mayanot Institute in 2003, approximately, which is an NGO that aims to recover the lost ancient tradition of eating Mayanot, which is a seed from the forest. That helps in nutrition, reforestation, and wildlife, and economy and rural women to get their income and feed their families. So this tradition has been largely lost in a lot of places in Mexico, Central America, and South America. So we are hoping with these workshops that we carry on to revive this tradition. And that is what the Mayanot does. And I've been doing this happily because I started as a biologist and then further as a mycologist. And then I thought it was more fun not to be in the academic side, but to be more on the ground with women and with the real life and with the forest. So that's a little overview of what it is, me and the program. I am married to Chris, which is next to me, and he's from England. He's nice enough to carry the bags everywhere I go, and he's part of the project. And we have a 19-year-old son that was raised as well by taking him to all over the place in different communities of Mexico. We even did a bit of homeschooling. So it was nice. So it has been a family experience as well. Obviously, not only the program and all that, but it's been a big growth for us to be able to learn within this program. And it was raised by an American woman that I always want to recognize her big, spearhead, the first thing that she started, and she has grown this program in at least 5 other countries. So that's a bit of an overview of me and the program.
Well, that is just, I find what you're doing so, I love it because it tips off every little thing. You're reintroducing cultures that have been lost, you're helping save the planet, and you're engaging at a local level and changing people's lives and making them better. So today what we're going to do is, this is a chance for those of us who are here to ask questions. So if you want to ask a question, you can either raise up your physical hand or you can raise up your virtual hand, and we can take it from there. Since I'm hosting, I'm going to take the first go. Okay, go ahead, Alex. Go for it.
Okay. Cecilia, one of the things during your talk in July that really struck me was you talked about how when you get together people for the workshop, they don't want a lot of talk. You start immediately with action. And I guess that struck me. Can you tell me how you arrived at that conclusion and that rhythm for the workshops, and how people respond to it?
Yeah, thanks. Well, one of the things is my parents, both of them were teachers, and I've always liked teaching. I have, every time I am able to do it. I did for the university for a little while, but doing this work is very difficult to teach because I have to be in the field, so I have to be missing. So for me, it's a thing about how to make learning more effective, less boring, more engaging. And that I found as well with my son. We enroll him first in Waldorf education, then in homeschooling and all that. So it's for me, it's something very important. So I was thinking that normally for any people, any person, it's always very boring to be hearing someone because our attention doesn't hold for more than a few minutes, and then we start to wander around and all that. So, and the women in this hot weather, they are not used to have a class, to go to school and all that. And then there are many technical stuff in these teachings, for example, what the nutrients are, you know, and that's a lot of learning. And even if you say iron and calcium and folic acid and all that, they have no relation to that so much, you know, so you have to make it really graphic and really with lots of examples. So as we start to work, I try to get the information out of them, and I'll give you an example. We say that nowadays the women are given a little capacity of folic acid because when they are pregnant, they need that. And we talk about it, and then at the end, we say something like, well, in the past, women didn't used to receive folic acid, but just they just eat healthy, and that makes them realize that they knew these things, you know. So coming back a bit to your question, is as well, the women start to arrive at different times in the workshop. So if you wait for all of them to arrive, they want to leave early, they get unsettled, they just want to find other things to do. So by getting them to cook straight away, they feel they can finish early, and they are doing something, and the attention doesn't diversify to other things. So once I have talked to them and gathered the information we need, at the end it's very, very easy to just make recaps of whatever we talked earlier, and that they as well realize they have given the information to me, and I explain it probably in another way, because I say, well, in this other state, they have the same information as you, but also this, but in this other way, or the laboratory analysis confirm what you already knew in the past with your knowledge. So that's one of the ways that I really started to, I think it has been with practice that I came to this realization, as well as and as well by thinking, how could I do it so that it's not boring for them, you know?
Those are great teaching tools. Thank you so much for sharing them with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I would love to hear about what has surprised you the most about doing this work. You know, I'm sure you had ideas when you came in about what this was going to be. What has been the thing that you went, wow, I never really expected that?
Yeah, well, I knew that this was going to be questions and answers, so I waited for this moment where you're telling me this. I knew something was going to come up, because I've been lucky enough today to be in Yucatan, in the Yucatan Peninsula, where the Maya knot, it comes from, because this the culture of the Mayas in Yucatan. So after the pandemic, all this time now, I can have the opportunity to teach workshops again. So it's a coincidence that right now I am teaching the first workshops after the pandemic, and I happen to be here for this conference. So it's very nice, it's very good. And I had something that surprised me very much for this workshop. There is it's a French organization that is funded by Yves Rocher, and Yves Rocher gave me a grant and an award in 2017 for the work I do here. And now there has been other change of events, and one of them is that this organization asked me to do these workshops here. And so I know that in general, working with rural communities can be very tricky because organization is completely different, and having an English husband, you know, he has had to learn a lot of, you know, yes can be no and no can be yes, and you don't know what time things happen and what is the pace. So Yucatan is particularly special in this fact. So there they go and try to do the 3 workshops. We couldn't do one of the workshops because they were in festivities, and that's prohibited to do any other thing if they are in festivities. So we do 2 workshops, but it's still a good budget to bring me over here and everything. And my ally, that is this French very nice girl that came with me, agronomist. And in the second workshop, something that was really like, wow, wow, you know, is that one day before we did the workshop, the people there in the community told us, well, you know, we are in a touristic place and we have a ecotouristic center, and we're just gonna receive 70 tourists, German tourists. So we have to be there for them, cook them, take them around. So I don't know how can we do the workshop as well as receiving these 70 tourists here. So so we thought we were gonna try to mix and match and you know, gather some women to come to the workshop, some could come and go and all that. So workshops normally start at 9:30 and we finish by 3 o'clock or something like that. And this workshop started something like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So, you know, after all day being in a beautiful place, because being ecotouristic and, you know, wonderful place, I really can advise anyone to go to Yucatan for these experiences with cenotes, with lakes, with the special bee, the forest. I mean, it's a site of jaguar and all that. So when we started the workshop at 3 o'clock, I have already given a talk to the few persons that were available, and we were able to do, instead of 10 recipes, 2 quick recipes. And the women there were so grateful, so inspired, and so happy to have learned something that I thought, I can't believe that we did something so little in so little time, and they were still engaged and got the message and were happy to do it, because Yucatan is challenging for another reason. And this doesn't happen in many other of the states. Although in every of the archaeological sites in Yucatan, there is this Ramon tree or Mayanot tree, is very, very pervasive, really abundant. They don't have a memory of use. It's very, very little. So in other parts of the country where there are no Mayans, they remember it more. But here, people really don't want to use it because they know it's food as well for domestic animals, for pigs, for donkeys, for horses, for cattle, for cow. And they don't want to be seen that they eat the food that animals eat, or that they ate when they were poor. So because it has that stigma. And today, or the 2 days that I gave the workshop, I was trying to convince them by saying, well, you know, the pigs or the cows, they won't go and have a McDonald's or any of this crap food, you know, fast food. They really know what they eat, because they know what is nourishment and what is good for them. And have you noticed that when they eat that, they produce better milk? So it is good for pregnant women and for calcium and all this, trying to put the examples in their own terms and their own realities of what they are aware of. So they start to nod, you know, they say, yeah, that's right, animals know what to eat. And you know, it's a place where they drink a lot of Coca-Cola. So I try to tell them, well, you know, you can make drinks out of this, and you can engage as well the tourists. I know that in particular, we don't know why, but German people, I don't know if they have a link, a gene or something, that they go crazy about the flavor, you know? So I said, if you introduce it to your dishes that you prepare here that are traditional for the tourists, they are going to be very happy to come and eat these kind of things rather than hamburgers or chips or spaghetti or something like that. So that was one of the experience today that I had that really amazed me. It doesn't matter how much you do, but you get a nice result.
That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. Art or John, is there something you would like to ask at this point?
No, it's been a very interesting discussion. And I'm really glad to hear the questions so far, but I didn't have any myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I always want to make sure everybody's being included. So another thing I would love to hear about is, now this is a very Western thing. In West, we tend to like to focus on goals and where you see this going. But I would love to hear your thoughts on where you would love to see this program flower into and evolve into. I mean, you've already mentioned it's spread into 5 different places. I would love to hear what you would love to see, understanding that things always have their own way of evolving.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, because it just been right now like 18 years that I've been doing this, and I do feel the weight of age, and you know that sometimes you get to a point that you've seen and you learn, and you would like the fresh generations to really carry on with what you've done, you know. For example, Erica, I think she has seen that she's done a lot with all these 5 countries and all that, and she saw it very well that she put the company, the factory, and the shop in the United States, and with the exportations and everything. And her vision was very clear always that she would eventually sell it to a ethical buyer, and for that to continue, and each of the countries to follow their own path as well. So in my case, I would like the young generations to take over, because I have the group of women that are with me, you know, for many of them for several years, and we're all in the same state, you know, that we are getting on and on with age, and we would like fresh people, fresh women with a lot of energy to carry on. Thankfully, today or these 2 days, I had a very young new promotora teacher, and I think I commented that to you last time that the way to form a new teacher is 3 days. So in the 3rd day, she's able to do the teachings. So in this case, she only had 2 opportunities, her own workshop and the next one that was very small, but she was so good in already giving a lot of the workshop, you know, and so easy to talk in public. So I was very happy for that. And right now, I will see how it will develop and in what it will develop, because in February, I was planning to do a gathering of all the promotoras, I call them, the women that give the workshops. So all the women we were going to join or meet in Yucatan, but because it was expensive, we couldn't make it. So we're gonna do that at my home in Cuernavaca in Morelos. So the only thing I'm going to be looking for is the ways for them to arrive to Cuernavaca. And I have little, you know, budgets here and there for the different women. And then we gather in my house and they can stay there. So we save in hotels and all that. We all cook there, and they open the University of Morelos for an event. So I think that is going to be a nice thing to see all together, the women and me. What do we want for the future? Because we have done these encounters before, but this is going to be a good one because it's after pandemic. We have had a lot of all of us to reflect on, and for me, it will be yeah, more people engaged and more people also from the cities, more young people like volunteers, and more awareness of the program, because it has been little really. So that's why I really appreciate this opportunity, because it's a way to pass on the, yeah.
Okay, Alex, go for it.
Cecilia, during your talk, I was struck by how you're always meeting people where they are and you're teaching them by doing. For example, I think you had people go gather the Maya nut themselves to bring to the workshop, and it teaches them where it is and where to get it. And then when it came to cooking, you said, just make tamales the way that you normally make them, and we'll teach you a little bit more. And then also you had them make enough to bring back to their husbands and their children so that they were excited about it too. And during the workshop, you identified maybe there were some people who wanted to learn to teach themselves, right? The promotoras, and you would be able to help them learn how to teach others. It seems like such a powerful energy that you start and you push, and then it carries itself forward. It's very exciting. And I was wondering, are there other, I guess, lessons about organizing, about bringing people together and teaching them that you think are applicable, not just to the Maya nut, but to anything that you want to teach people?
Yeah, at least with what means teaching in rural communities, I think is try to be very relaxed in hearing them, in hearing what they have to give you, because there's always this very anxiety of you bringing to them things, so it's a lot of practice in listening, listening, and try to get into that habit of asking a lot of questions and see where they want to go, and we it's very difficult that we have the answers for many of the things, but at least we keep that in our mind, and then we go and find somewhere else how they can solve these questions. Like a quick example is that I was asking them, how is your harvest of corn? Do you depend on corn? And they told me, well, many times we have very bad harvest because we have the locust, and it's eaten the whole thing. But we have done this all our lives. We're going to carry on. But the French girl, Lisa, and me, it broke our heart. So now we're going to try to find other ways to include the agroecology, other systems, to even though they didn't say specifically, I want help with this. For us, it came as a purpose, I think is more in, I don't know if I answer very well your question, but it's more in trying to be more open. I think that comes as well with experience, with the feedback that you get from them,
Right. Do more listening than talking. Try to understand what they're bringing to you, and
Yes.
it grows from there. Got it. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thanks to you. Yeah.
Well, we only have 5 more minutes, so I want to give one other opportunity. Bart, if you'd like to ask anything, or John, if not, I always have a question. So since I don't see hands going up, I would love to hear some of the purposes that I know that the Maya nut was traditionally, used. What have you been able to find any kind of ceremonial use of the Maya nut, in the traditions? Because it's not unusual for people to bring food that they use into their, ceremonial life. Now, it may be that all that's lost, but I was just curious if you're able to find anything like that. If not, maybe just give some examples of things that people have made with it.
I'm sorry, I missed one word and that.
Oh, okay. What I was asking is, were there anything that people used to do in their religious ceremonial things that use the Maya nut that you were able to, recover by talking to people who still remembered using it? Or was that all lost? Because we know it came from the Mayan, but
Yes.
I was curious if any of that knowledge was still around.
Yeah, more than anything that had to do with ceremonies and all that, it was with medicinal purposes. Yeah, with medicinal, but not so much because as it was a staple food, that then it was it was like corn, so I'm sure that it was related to the various foods that they were eating most of the times, but not as a purpose one. Like, very sadly, the Coca-Cola has taken over in one of the traditional beverages that was used, because it makes, with the gas, it makes people burp and expel the devils or whatever. Now that has done it, but for the Maya note, I don't remember anything in particular that was used for ceremony, other than, for example, in the altar of the Day of the Dead, it could have been included in the traditional foods that were prepared,
Well, I really appreciate that. And it's lovely to know about, some of the uses. It sounds like one of the things that's lovely about it is the versatility of it. And how much it can be used for now. So we only have about 2 more minutes. So I think this is a good time just to thank everybody for showing up. And next month, Patrick Stewart, sorry, I can't speak today. Patrick McCollan, who is a world-known peace organizer who hopes to get back to the Amazon, is hopefully going to be able to join us, depending on Pat's on his health. But even if he can't, somebody from his organization will come and talk to us. So just something, I will try to get some information out. And I always want to encourage people to feel free to share about our meetings to anybody that you know. They shouldn't feel that they are welcome.
Oh, thank you.
What we do is, and you also, of course, you are always welcome. Always.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. Yeah, I'll be glad. Yeah, thank you very much.
I will make sure to actually send you an invite for that specific one, so that yeah. And by the way, you are more than welcome to, even though you're not in the United States, if you can get to the website, you can join. We won't tell. And then you'll be noticed all the time. Well, I will make sure to send you a link about the next one, because it will be special. Even if he can't make it, his organization does amazing things. They work in the Amazon, for example, and he works with a lot of indigenous people. So yeah, it will be very, very cool. Anyway, our time is up, and I just want to wish everybody a great November and take care.
Thank you for joining us, Cecilia. I'll carry the lessons with me.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Goodbye.